what we're using to imitate like the damsel is like the same sort of green with the eyes and a little bit of a waggly tail, and that magoo variant as well is very similar. That will have, as you can imagine, when he swims, it's going to wiggle his tail in the movement, which will imitate those. Some of the other food source that they're eating as well is what they call like a little snail, and they live on the reeds and that as well. So the food's very plentiful in a lake like Wendouree, as like in a few of the other lakes, which are quite shallow as well. So great food source for these fish, which is why they grow so big so quickly. There we go. And that's good. We've persisted with that little damsel, and got a bit blowy out there, and it almost gets to the point, if I wasn't making a TV show, I'd be tucked up at home. And we thought we'd come up to where we're a little bit more sheltered. There's a lovely little area, and I think it comes down to when you're fishing lakes, it can be a bit daunting. Oh, he's taking a little bit of line, getting him not hooked around my feet. It can be a bit daunting with some lakes because it all looks the same. You look around everywhere, and whereas a river, you can see the lovely little rock, and you can imagine where a fish would sit behind. But they're essentially looking for two things. One is not to get eaten by a big cormorant or deceived by a cagey fly fisherman, and the other is food. So when you look to a lake like this, you're looking for perhaps depth, so you're going to use your sounder, and that's going to show you up a couple of deeper holes that you can work with, which is terrific. And also for a lot of these reeds, we talk about the food they're going to get, and they're going to eat damsels, little scud, mud eyes and things like that, and that's where they're going to live, in around reedy areas like that. And they'll be cruising up and down these areas, these what we call like reed banks and things like that, and they'll have the mud eyes and that as they swim through to climb up and hatch out. And he's seen my damsel impersonation there, and he thought he'd have it rather than let that get away. And that red stripe that runs along there, and generally on their gill plate, and they'll also have a lot of spots on their tail as well. But rainbows are a fantastic fish to catch and target, and they're throughout our river systems as well as our lakes. So yeah, fantastic fish. So it makes it all worthwhile. When it gets pretty difficult and it's cold and windy and you're starting to lose interest, still persist, because you never know, that next cast can bring up a fish like that, and that's a handy fish to catch and makes it all worthwhile. So that's when you go fly fishing. Anyone can catch fish when it's easy, but when you get a couple of fish when it's pretty difficult, it just makes it all worthwhile, and there's a lot more satisfaction that goes with it. Just hold him in there and just support him until he can virtually swim out of your hands there. And it just takes a little bit, because they're probably a little bit disorientated. It just pays to put a little bit of time to make sure that they're right, and off he goes, and then somebody else can catch him as well. So yeah, as I always say, certainly nothing wrong with banging the odd one on the head and keeping it, but personally I like to put them back and let somebody else have the same enjoyment that I've got out of catching that fish, that they can have it as well. So catch and release is a pretty cool thing to do, I think. So next time you get one, decide whether you want to keep it or give someone else the opportunity to have that same enjoyment.